July 10th, nearly 3 years ago, the statue of Robert E. Lee on horseback rode out of downtown Charlottesville Park on the back of a flatbed. The removal was a victory for those who've been fighting to get rid of the Confederate tribute, but it came at a great cost. Here to talk about that effort and the path since then is Dr. Andrea Douglas. She's the executive director of Jefferson School Heritage Center. Good morning, Dr. Douglas.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for being here. We're also joined here in studio
Thank you.
by Wells Todd, organizer with Take Em Down Jax, which is hosting Dr. Douglas's upcoming appearance in Jacksonville. Hi, Wells.
Hi, good morning, Ann.
Good morning. Dr. Douglas, your organization was charged with melting down the statue of Lee to create a different piece of public art. As an art historian yourself, were you at all conflicted by that process?
Absolutely not. And in fact, just to be clear, I am the executive director of an organization called the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. And I think that is one of the, and I only make that clarification as a way of answering your question. So we weren't charged with it. We actually proposed it. After a sort of extracted court battle, it became possible in the state of Virginia as a consequence of a Supreme Court ruling for localities to make decisions about what could happen with their objects in public places. And so we actually made a request for the object through proposal as part of that process that was developed in order to obtain a statue, or you had to make a request. There had to be 60 days of public hearing prior to that capacity for Charlottesville City Council to make the vote. So that's kind of how we acquired the statue. On December 7th of 2020, the City Council voted for our proposal, and that's how we received it. So, and I say that also to answer your question, because in that there is an intentionality. Yes, I'm an art historian, and because I'm an art historian, I've been involved in thinking about, for most of my career, I'm a social historian and thinking about public spaces and the objects that occupy those public spaces and how those objects articulate cultural and social value. And it's within that mindset that I had been thinking about these objects. And I've been doing that since 2016 when I was part of what Charlottesville's Blue Ribbon Commission on race monuments in public spaces. And so having an opportunity, certainly as the director of the Heritage Center, to understand this local narrative deeply and understanding when and how those statues were placed within the context of the work as I do as an art historian, and understanding how these public objects can carry ideology. And it became clear to me as the executive director for the Heritage Center that as we look at where we live, at the moments these objects are placed, what their the work that they're doing, how they're functioning in these public spaces, it was necessary post-2017 to think about them differently, and then that caused them to be removed from our city parks.
And
So
for those who don't remember 2017 and what was happening in Charlottesville at that time, remind us of the environment there and what was going on.
Right. Well, you know, we call here in Charlottesville 2017, August 2017, we call 2017 in that period the Summer of Hate. What happened in August 11th and 12th was the Unite for the Right rally that led to mob violence and the death of 3 people and the injury of over 29, almost 30 people in our community. And a lot of, we can point directly to the desire to maintain the Lee statue in its place as some of the catalysts for that. There are several other reasons why this Unite the Right rally came to pass, but the symbol that was being used and where the melee ultimately occurred was right in the park where that Lee statue stood. And so for us in Charlottesville, that object is represents a site of trauma. And through a community engagement process that we began very quickly after the vote in 2017 to remove the statues from public space that happened, the Heritage Center and our partners began to do a series of education projects to cause people to understand.
I think we just lost you, Dr. Douglas, but I want to turn to Wells Todd. So why did Take Em Down Jax want to hear from Dr. Douglas? You're bringing her to town as part of a Southern Poverty Law Center grant that the Take Em Down received. What questions do you have for her when she comes to town?
Well, we feel fortunate to be able to bring her to Jacksonville, and we want her to explain the process that her group went through to bring attention to the need to remove these statues. We feel that this struggle is not over. The event, and I'd like to kind of let everybody know when and where the event will take place. Will take place Friday, July 12th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Jesse, which is 40 East Adams Street. It's a free event, but we would like people to register on Eventbrite just so we know how many people are coming. The issue is being able to get our society to a point where they can actually own what these statues represent. And these statues are scattered throughout the South, and as far west as Hawaii. There's recognition of the Confederacy, and in the Northwest also. And so we understand that these statues don't really represent celebrating soldiers who died during the Civil War, but actually celebrate the false ideology of white supremacy. And so once again, we are proud to have Professor Douglas join us on Friday, July 12th at the Jesse to explain exactly the process that took place and why this fight needs to continue.
And Dr. Douglas, I think we have you back on the line. I know one of the things that you're going to address is, a path forward for Jacksonville based on some lessons learned in Charlottesville. Tell us what you think worked and what didn't work in your eyes in terms of how that whole process went.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can say what didn't work because this has been a process that has for us, and most places has never occurred before. We received the statue, and then within days of receiving the statue, we were named as part of a lawsuit, and that lawsuit went on for 2 years. The lawsuit was hoping to challenge the process the city of Charlottesville undertook in order to award us the statue. It was 2 organizations that tried to make that happen, Trevelyan Station and Radcliffe Foundation, that both of those organizations were found to not have actual standing when they in their application. And so we have had maybe a series of fits and starts, but these fits and starts have allowed us to do other things that continue the community engagement piece. So while we were held off from melting the statues down right away, what we did accomplish, or what was accomplished in those lawsuits, was the development of case law such that if any other community wants to take the steps that we've taken and they are then sued by that, there is now immediate case law that would support a Supreme Court ruling that it's possible for localities such as ours. And the thing that's important to know is that Virginia is a Dillon rule state. And so the possibility of localities dealing with their public space up until now had to have been discussed in the General Assembly. It was the General Assembly that gave that power. Now, in Virginia, the localities have the power themselves and can make the decisions about that. So, in real terms, as I start to think about what we've accomplished since receiving that statute, certainly being able now to carry out the plans that we described in our Swords and Plowshares application that was supported by 23 organizations in our community when we made that application. The act of melting down the statute was just a step along the way to what our larger goal is, which is to create this democratic process that is an antithesis to the process where those objects were originally placed.
Dr. Douglas, I'm just
us,
briefly going to ask Wells to catch us up on where and when they can come and see you.
Okay, Ann. Once again, the event is called Recasting the Past, From Confederate Monuments to Symbols of Peace, featuring Dr. Andrea Douglas, and it's Friday, July 12th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Jessie, and that's 40 East Adams Street. We'd like you to register. It is a free event, but we'd like you to register on Everbright. And you can go to takeemdownjax.com.
Wells Todd, Andrea Douglas, thank you both so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann.